My name is Annie. Today I'm going to talk about living on high alert. 2020 sure is exciting. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of news, a lot of opinions. These are troubling times, and I've seen a lot of people around me, a lot of friends and family that are making themselves sick by constantly consuming news. They're feeling anxious and outraged all the time, constantly, never taking a break. This is incredibly unhealthy. It's very bad for your immune system, and your immune system is really important during a pandemic. For some of my friends, it seems like they have a belief that their worry is holding everything together or keeping the chaos at bay somehow. Like maybe things would be a lot worse if they didn't worry. Or maybe it would make them feel guilty if they had a peaceful or a joyful moment because things are just so bad right now. Our country and our world is in such a precarious situation that maybe they feel like it would be frivolous to laugh or play or have a good time. But believe me, the apocalypse will still be there in the morning if you take an evening off from agonizing about it. You could take a bubble bath, watch a stupid movie, and have a really good night's sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, all the bullshit will still be there and you can pick up where you left off. But it is okay to take a break from it. And it's healthy to take a break from it. And you actually will be more effective at helping the world, at serving the world, if you're not making yourself sick with worry and anxiety. I had a great grandpa who lived in Arkansas, and he grew up in the Depression. And we used to go to this big country home, my family and my cousins, some of the extended family. We would go to this big country house in the summer, and there was a lot of acreage and a beautiful garden and a pond. And we'd all sit around this really big kitchen table, and my great grandpa sat at the head of the table and he'd bow his head to say grace. So we all bowed our heads, and then he'd say, "Lord, times sure is hard, so don't eat too much." It's just, oh, wow. That's it's, it's so funny. This was in the 80s, so times weren't really hard anymore. Times were pretty good for a lot of people in the 80s. But I think it was because he lived through the Depression, he grew up in that era, and things were so difficult that he kind of had this levity. He learned how to take a break from the seriousness and laugh about it. And I think it's actually really healthy to do that. You just can't agonize all the time. You can't be outraged 24 hours a day. It's just not good for you, and it makes you a less effective person. You'll be less effective at solving the world's problems if you're making yourself sick with anxiety. And I'm not saying you should bury your head in the sand. It's good to be aware, be informed, participate in democracy, participate in your community. Do what you're best at to make the world a better place. But I bet the thing that you're best at is not agonizing and worrying. I bet you were not put on this planet to make yourself sick with worry. That is not your gift. You have other gifts. There are other ways that you can help make the world a better place. Eloquently articulated outrage is a beautiful thing. And some people are so good at it. And it's so beautiful. And it's so useful. And they were meant to do this in their life. They're the activists that can express this outrage naturally and eloquently. But maybe that skill is so suited to them that it doesn't really make them sick. Maybe they don't think about it in their off times. Maybe they take a minute to take care of themselves and not be outraged sometimes. And that probably makes them more effective when it is time to deliver that message of outrage and get people involved and get people interested in what's going on in their communities. But you don't have to be outraged all the time. That's not necessarily your gift. There's probably something that you're really good at that can help the world, and it might seem kind of indirect, but it's still the thing that you can do best to make a difference in the world. So consider expanding your idea of what it means to be helpful right now in this really scary, dangerous time that the whole world is going through. So I'm a massage therapist, and I've thought about this a lot. I've thought about how much I'm helping the person on the table and how they have different skills than me. So I could be massaging the mayor. I haven't massaged the mayor, but I could be, And imagine how important the work is that I'm doing, massaging someone who is making policies. I'm massaging policymakers for sure, doctors, lawyers, school teachers. These are all people that are doing really, really important work. And I'm doing important work by helping them relax. So if I'm massaging an activist who's been hit in the streets really hard for the last 3 months, fighting the good fight, the work that I'm doing is just as important as the work that they are doing out in the streets. I've consumed a lot more news in 2020 because there's a lot going on and it's kind of hard not to look at a train wreck, you know? I'm curious about this slow motion train wreck that I'm watching right in front of my eyes. But in general, my partner filters the news for me. I think we both have lead consume, but we really consume different things. He understands a lot about politics and global economics and science, technology, innovation, and the kinds of things that I consume and study are more like social sciences. And we come together and we share this information with each other and we enrich each other. Coming from different areas of interest. But I've always really appreciated that he filters the news for me. He gives me the highlights. He tells me if there's something important that I need to know because I am really sensitive and I don't just like watch the news all the time. It's just too much for me. But I'll check in once a day just to get a snapshot of what's going on in the world. But I cannot obsess over it. It would make me sick. It would make me less effective as a person. It would make me less effective in doing my part to contribute to society because I would be too sick to make a meaningful difference. So my point is, maybe give the news a break sometimes. It'll still be there when you come back to it. And also think about your natural gifts and what you can really do to help out in this troubling time. There are probably little things you can do. I mean, think about the governor of your state and how stressed out he or she may be right now. The person that is giving the governor a massage or cooking for them or doing the shopping for them is just as important as the governor making decisions and the policymakers. Everybody has a role, and you can help just by doing simple things. Chores. Just by doing chores, you're helping the world to be a better place. And you don't have to make yourself sick all the time, consuming the news, being outraged, being alarmed. Not if it makes you less effective. Not if it makes you sick. I've just seen so many of my dear friends suffering with this dilemma. I wish them moments of peace. I hope that they can find little moments of peace whenever possible, because I think that's going to do more good for the world in the long run. So that is all I have to say about living on high alert. If you'd like to book a video chat with me, check out my Snug link in the description.